Hey guys, it's Stacy from My Petite Garden. Thank you so much for stopping by. And today we're going to actually go through my whole Rhipsalis collection. I'm going to also be talking a little bit about the care that I give them, including the watering, the type of light that they get, and also what type of potting mix that they're in. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started. So the first Rhipsalis that we're going to start off with is my Rhipsalis Micrantha. This is one that actually grows really nicely for me and is pretty low maintenance. Most of my Rhipsalises are pretty low maintenance, and you'll notice the one that isn't, I'll mention later. This one here used to hang in my son's room by its east-facing window, so it got a lot of really early morning light. And I think it was getting a little bit bleached there, so I moved it to this little corner here in my living room where it's a little bit more protected. On the one side, it has a north-facing window, and then the other side is west-facing, so it gets a bit of afternoon sun, and I feel like it's a little bit happier here. And you can see that there are new growth coming in already, so I'm really happy about it, and I think it's also happy here. This one is in just my regular airy potting mix that I've mentioned many times before. It's the same mix that I use for my Hoyas and my aeroids. And then in terms of watering, I watered this once a week. I actually watered this very lightly. I let this dry out completely between waterings, and it seems to be doing very nicely. I noticed that on some of the stems, there are these little bubbles on the end of them. I'm not sure what they are. I've yet to figure it out. So if any of you know, please let me know. At first I thought they might be blooms, but I think they've been like this for a while, so I don't think it's that. So it's still a mystery to me. Next I have here my Rhipsalis salicornioides. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's also more commonly known as drunkard stream or dancing bones Rhipsalis, I believe. This one is very quirky, and I've gotten so many comments and questions on my particular specimen. Mine is currently growing straight up. I think a lot of these tend to grow trailing, and I do notice that it is starting to trail. I think it's just waiting for gravity to take hold because it can only keep growing up for so long. And mine is also currently in bloom. The little blooms are very cute and dainty. They are yellow in color. I have not noticed a scent as of yet, so I'm not sure if they're meant to have any scent. I don't think I've noticed any scent on any of my Rhipsalis blooms. I really like the way the segments of this particular Rhipsalis grows. It's very unique. It almost looks like coral. It reminds me of some under the sea growth. And in terms of potting mix, again, I just use my regular airy aeroid / Hoya potting mix that I use for all the rest of my plants. I just make sure there is a lot of drainage in it. And I always have my plants in terracotta, so I'm not too worried about overwatering it. I also let this one completely dry between waterings, and that would be true for I think all of my Rhipsalis. I have dealt with mealybugs on this particular Rhipsalis, and you can imagine what a nightmare it would be for this particular one to have mealybugs. I at first tried to kind of manually remove the mealybugs with a Q-tip and some alcohol, but in the end I decided to just use systemics, and I sprinkled some into the soil, just the top layer of soil, because I really didn't want to mess with it too much. And then I watered it in, and I noticed that the mealybugs are now gone. Next, we have my Rhipsalis Paradoxa, and this Rhipsalis is probably one that I've had the longest, or at least one of the longest. I've started collecting Rhipsalis with this particular one, I believe this one and my Rhipsalis pyocarpa. They are some of the OG Rhipsalis that were in my collection. The one you see here right now is actually a propagation off of my mother plant, which you will see later. The chains on this, or the segments if you want to call it that, are just so stunning, and this one just grows and grows, and it grows so well for me. I absolutely love this Rhipsalis, and if you have seen pictures or videos of a full one of these just completely trailing, you'll see how beautiful it is. It literally makes a curtain of the chains of the vines. I hope one day I can grow mine to be like that. If I combine this one and my mother plant, I might get somewhere close to that. It's beautiful. It's always growing. I have this one in my regular potting mix. You can see the little growth here. It's starting to grow again. It's always shooting out new segments, and it comes out kind of like a neon chartreuse green, and it's so fun to watch this grow because I just find the way it grows is so unique. I think all Rhipsalis is so unique in its own way, and I think it's just so fun. It's such a fun genus of plants to grow. I also water this one once a week, let dry in between waterings, and this one is growing under micro lights. Here you see my mother plant. So this is the one I propagated the other one from, and this one sits in my bedroom. It's under grow lights. And here you can see some of the new growth on this one. It's pointing upwards because I think that's where the light source is, and it's just really funny to see because it almost looks like ears, and you'll see, yeah, right here, this one particular, when it grows into two branches, it's just really fun to watch this one grow, and I get so excited every time I spot new growth on it. Now, here's one that I find very frustrating to grow, and that is the Rhipsalis Paradoxa minor. At first, I thought it would be easy to grow just like the regular Paradoxa, but unfortunately, it is not. I've mentioned this before in my previous videos. This one I ended up having to chop up and propagate and start from fresh. I currently have them in fluval stratum, hoping to restart it and maybe it'll do better. And I hope you can see the difference between the size and the chains of the two different Rhipsalis Paradoxas. And I think the reason why this one is not as widely sold or as popular is maybe because it is a little more difficult to grow. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing wrong with the original specimen. Maybe I have a bad specimen, because I have mentioned before that my friend and I both got one of these plants from the same seller, and both of ours were not doing well. Hers, I believe, is just completely gone. And these ones, these little cuttings have now rooted for me, as you saw. And then over here is my other pot of propagations. I had to separate them into two pots just to be safe in case one doesn't do well. I still have the other one, and you can see this one also has some beautiful white roots. So I think majority of these cuttings are indeed rooted now. I'm just waiting for them to grow because I have yet to see any new growth on it. Once it starts to grow, I think I'll be feel a little more secure with it. Right now, I'm still not sure how it's doing. I see the roots, but I haven't seen any new growth. Moving on to my Rhipsalis pentera. I always have trouble saying this name. Another stunning one. This one has grown so much, and I can't say that this was the easiest one by any means, because when I brought this home, it was infested with mealybugs within a few days. I don't know how that happened. It must have already had mealybugs and it just spread completely throughout. I had to clean it manually, and then I put systemics in it, and now it's finally under control. I still see them here and there, and the white dots that you still see on this plant on some of the segments, those are actually, I think, nectar drops, or it's just nectar, I believe. They are like crystallized and it's hard and it reminds me of sugar. So that's what that is that you see here. I thoroughly check this plant every time I water it because I am so paranoid about it having mealybugs again. Especially with these nectar everywhere, it's hard for me to distinguish the difference sometimes. So I always freak myself out and I'm like, ooh, is that a mealybug? But no, I think we're okay for now. I will keep an eye on it and I will definitely keep the systemics going. And this one sits by my kitchen window, and the only light it gets is really from the sliding doors, which faces west. This corner of my kitchen doesn't really get too much light, but it seems to like it here and it's putting out new growth, so I'm really happy. Moving on, we have one that is fairly new to my collection. You would have seen me repot this in a previous video not too long ago. I did not have a definite identification for this particular Rhipsalis. The person at the nursery had helped me identify it as best as she could, and she came up with the name Rhipsalis terce, and I believe she also gave me a subspecies name. I will put it on the screen. I'm not sure if it is the correct name. If any of you know what it is for sure, please let me know in the comments. I really like this particular Rhipsalis because the segments remind me of little sausages. So if you ever see like sausages being sold before it's cut, it reminds me of that, like in its casing, dangling in the long chain. It reminds me exactly of that. And I just thought that was really fun. I noticed that when this particular Rhipsalis gets enough light, it actually turns purple. So you'll see that some of the segments here are indeed purple, and this is from when it was in the greenhouse at the nursery. I'm not sure if I would be giving it enough light here. It is currently sitting on the window in my kitchen and it faces south. So during the afternoon, it does get a good amount of light, but I don't think in this particular corner it gets as much light as it could, because I do have, as you see, like it's a little frosted on one side of the window, and also the window is not that big, so it's limited in terms of how much south facing light it does get, but we'll see how it grows. Just like my other Rhipsalis, I plan on watering this once a week and letting it completely dry in between watering. We have come to my final Rhipsalis, and this is one that should be no stranger to you guys that watch my videos because it's become a staple by now. This is my Rhipsalis pyocarpa, and this is one of the ones that I've had in my collection for many, many years. And I think this is the only one of my Rhipsalises that are actually furry. It's got little hairs on it, so you can see that the segments on this particular one, it grows like an octopus. Is that correct? But yeah, it has these little arms that spread out, and it spreads from like one segment to 3 to 4 to 5, so it dangles really, really nicely. I also love that this one can get color. So if you give it enough light, it turns like a rainbow of orange, yellow, and red. It's really beautiful and very, very easy going. This one is absolutely a gem to grow. I have not had any issues with it, knock on wood. So this one I definitely let completely dry quite a bit in between waterings, and when I water it very minimally. And when I say minimally, I mean like I probably dribble some water into the pot a few times, and then that would be it, and I would leave it alone. And I've done that for years now. So obviously I think it's fine, it's doing great. And in terms of lighting, this sits or hangs
by my south-facing window in our bedroom, and because it is off to the side and it's blocked by a little bit of my curtain, it doesn't get like the full blast of the south-facing sun, but it seems like it gets just enough to keep it happy.
Guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you have fun and enjoyed. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. And if you want to follow me on my Instagram, it's at mypetitegarden. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!